So as we are looking toward the future of Faircreek, and we're praying for God to move and to use us, to work within us and all those things, we are really, really excited to let people know about some new additions to the team around here. Yeah. So would you tell everybody about some of the new the two new team members that we've been able to add, and maybe a little bit about their story about how that came to be, because both of their stories are a little bit unique in just how this even happened. Because we're not talking the normal, pastor search and all. We weren't really even doing any of that, but we had the pleasure of being able to add two new team members through some kind of unique circumstances.
Right. So let's go back before pandemic and before lockdown.
Yeah.
We had a strategic plan in place that said we would add staff members.
We did.
And at this point in 2021, we would have added by now 2 additional full-time staff members. And we were looking for them to be, pastors or directors that could be over ministry.
Yeah.
And so really, what we've come across is that there's so many things that we could have put a staff person over. We're not just hiring for hiring's sake. So this is kind of what transpired. Okay. You ask how the unique stories. So let's take them one at a time here. Okay. So let's start with, a few months back, I had a relationship that I was building with another man here, another pastor in the area who was planting a church called Bridge Church.
Yeah.
And so many of you probably have seen our town hall meeting where John Harney joined me on that meeting. We talked about the fact that as he and I, our friendship and relationship grew, we saw God drawing our churches together. And so we had some opportunities to do some events together, our Good Friday service, different things that were a part of us. But also, they had the same mission and vision that we did, and really trying to be a church that unchurched people love, trying to really lead people into a growing relationship with Jesus, being for our neighbors. That was a big part of who they were.
Absolutely.
It was all over their branding as a church, all over everything that they said and did.
All about for.
Yeah. And so we started talking, and it was right. John approached me and said, what would you think about Bridge Church becoming part of Faircreek? And this was not like, and a lot of people say, well, that sounds like a church merger. In a way, we merged, yes.
Sure.
But it's not a merger as some people would think. They were a church plant without a building. They were basically doing portable church in a local school. And so when the lockdown happened, there was no building for them to have church in.
Yeah.
So they went totally online. They still were doing the ministry they were doing. But the more we talked, the more we realized we felt like we could go further faster if we joined together. And so basically they just came and become part of us.
Right.
And so it left John, who was their pastor, looking for a place to serve, and he would have just started coming here to church. But we looked at it and said, man, he fits the bill for what we need here. We need somebody in that role of communication and being able to deal with things administratively, and it was the need we had.
Yeah,
Matter of fact, it was a targeted need.
Right.
We said we needed.
We had very specific ministry leadership needs already that he fit the bill for perfectly.
And God had gifted him with the skills to be able to do that, and so we were like blown away by the fact that God just put us together as friends first, but then he became fast friends with a lot of our team. And then, so we went through the normal hiring process though with him.
Right. Yeah.
Elders interviewed him. We had time with just the staff. We had time where we were able to ask the tough questions. We had to make sure that, in every way, his character, the chemistry between us, even his competence, and his confidence too, of where he was in ministry and what God had given him to do with his life. And for him, it was no sacrifice of the vision he had given him for Bridge Church to come and be part of our church. And so we're just excited.
Yeah.
So we stepped back and we said, okay, how can we make this happen? And so we got down, we sharpened our pencils, as far as budget was concerned, because that's always, how are you going to pay somebody on staff? But we were able to do this. Matter of fact, we've gone to a new system of budgeting here at the church.
Yeah.
We now do a 6-month budget. We find that annual budgets are good, and we still can measure it annually.
For sure, yeah.
And we can still do that for all the record keeping. But when it comes to actually doing ministry, we can adjust things based on growth. And we've had a lot of that. So this has given us that opportunity. Now we're managing based on a 6-month budget.
Yeah.
And so it allowed us to bring him in to the staff.
Right.
And with him, he brought all the people from Bridge
Right,
Church.
yeah.
So we have seen a lot of key roles in serving capacities filled because those people brought their skills and abilities that God had given them.
Yeah.
And so they've hopped in, a lot of them, to contribute to the mission and vision here at Faircreek. And so we're kind of one big happy family now, which is really great. I love that. And so, it's kind of ironic the name of the church was Bridge, because now we kind of have these two churches that just kind of bridged, the gap and came together. When so many churches seem to be against each other, or it feels that way anyway, here God allowed us to have that opportunity and privilege to have a relationship with them. So then, that's not the only one.
Right.
Right?
That's not it. There's more.
Not the end.
But wait, there's more.
There's more. So this is kind of cool. Several years back actually, a young man in our church, Grayson Harris, while he was on a student ministry retreat, really felt that God was leading him to give his life for ministry.
Yeah.
And I mean vocational ministry,
right.
Full-time vocational ministry.
Yeah.
Like you and I are doing.
Right.
And so that meant, unique training. It meant getting involved. So we actually brought him as a high school student to hang around with us during the summer as an intern, if you will. Sure. And so he did a lot of ministry, learned some stuff there, and it just confirmed in his mind that was what he wanted to do. Yeah. So we decided that this was the right thing. He made the choice to go away to Moody Bible Institute in Chicago. And, of course, I was all for that because that's where I went to seminary.
Right, yeah.
And so that was a good thing for me to see him do that. But he went away, got outstanding opportunity there to learn. But then he left there and did a full-time residency in a large church, Christ Chapel Church down in Dallas, Texas. Yeah. And it was a residency program, just like a doctor has to do residency. Well, that's exactly what this was. And so he went to Dallas Theological Seminary while he was doing this residency. And so he came away just this past May. He graduated. And so we started looking at the needs. And as much as John Harney brings to our staff, there were still some gaps.
Right.
And here is Grayson, who has grown up in our church.
Right.
We really sent him away. He's done several internships, including his Moody Bible Institute official internship he did here.
Yep.
And so it was obvious. We knew him. He's homegrown. I mean,
yes.
Why wouldn't we want this? And he has expertise. During his residency, he learned a couple of things that just have been powerful. He learned, what it is to empower people in the church to serve. Mm-hmm. He was involved in their young adult ministry. Yep. And then he was a part of their online ministry too, which was during COVID. He was doing all of the interactions with people who were not coming back to church yet.
Engaging through online.
Exactly. Yeah. And so that was one of our goals, was when we knew we were going to relaunch, we wanted to relaunch 2 campuses. One would be in person and one would be an online campus. Right. And so we needed somebody to do this. I mean, goodness knows the existing staff, who would have put that on their plate at this point? There was just not a place. Yep. But Grayson had the experience to do it. Yeah. So we've hired Grayson Harris too, to be, and this is a long title, we don't even know what else to call it. Pastor of, okay, maybe make sure I get this right. Pastor of serving young adults and online ministry.
Right, yeah.
So
it's long, but it's very specific.
It is. He really has some specialized areas. Just like John.
Right.
John is coming in to do administration, culture, communication. He just, both of these guys are going to raise the bar for us and take it from good to great.
Absolutely.
And so very excited about joining these two. And again, God's provision's been awesome. It is a bit of a step of faith for us to do this, to bring on two new members to the staff
right.
at this point, but we're excited about what that's going to do and the growth that it's going to bring. So
yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
It's a really cool, an important step of faith to be willing to take, though. I mean, obviously we want to be good stewards and we want to be smart about those types of decisions, even when it comes to the finances of the church. But it's really hard to ignore how things came together and the specific needs that we had, that we already decided we needed before either of these two people were in the equation or before we were even thinking about trying to hire somebody. It was like, well, if we could hire somebody, we really need people to do this, this, and this. And then you have these two guys that fit that perfectly. They came to us by natural means, and one of the coolest things about John was early on when he was talking to us about just possibly merging, their church with ours. John was just, I'm going to come here and I'm going to work. Like, you guys don't have to hire me or whatever. He's like, but I'm going to dig in and I'm going to serve. You guys are going to have to get used to me being around with you,
And that's so unusual. You don't see something like that. I mean, right. he was willing to come and be a part of things. And then it was like, well, why wouldn't we add him? If we can work this out.
Let's do it.
If we can do this. So that's why it was important. And quite honestly, I'll just tell you, I feel so blessed to be a part of this group of elders in our church right now.
Man, goodness, yeah.
These guys were awesome. When we started thinking about this, I thought it would be a good idea just to get them together to share it. But we also invited their wives to be together. So here we are. We went to one of their homes, sat down, and what was really awesome is the time of just listening to them talk about how they see God working in our church and bringing everything into alignment. And it just, this cohesion that's there, that can only be described as basically unity that God's bringing to us.
Yeah.
And so we spent time in prayer, but we walked away from that going, wow, we're anticipating God to do amazing things in us just because we're being obedient to the things he's putting in front of us. And so it was great to hear from all of them. They led well during this. They did a great job of leading through these decisions and making the practical decisions and knowing that there's some risk involved, whenever you bring on new staff and whenever you change around the way, you're doing things so that you can make it happen. And I'm talking financially, that was one of the ways we had to, to think, how would we make this happen?
Right.
But God showed us and gave us wisdom, and it's amazing. We're still able to do everything that we were doing and still be able to bring them on. And so I think when you're obedient and you do what God's called you to do, he always provides. If he leads you somewhere, he's always going to provide what's needed to do it. And so, and the way God is using people in our church to give, to make those things happen on a regular basis. That's really cool to see. Yeah. But just the way the elders led during this and were a part of their supporting me, and when I presented this to them, they were just like, well, this is something, and right. Then they took it from there. They did all the interviewing, they did all of the hard part in a sense of making sure these two guys were going to be a good fit. And then the staff, the staff did a great job of accepting them and bringing them in and making sure that they fit us well.
Yeah.
And so I just know this, God's got some great things ahead.
Yeah. No, a huge shout out to our elders and honestly, mad props and respect to them because working with them has just been really incredible, and just the personal friendships that I've been able to develop with them too. Huge thank yous, honestly, to them for the type of men that they are and just the way that they lead, but also the way that they just humbly interact with us. Again, it's not a matter of like, well, we're the super spiritual ones who know everything and tell you everything to do. They're just not those types of people. And they are super spiritual guys. They're really great guys and really invested in their relationship with the Lord. But just a humility about the way that they lead here and the way they interact. And I honestly, I just feel like I'm just genuinely friends with all of them. We just happen to serve on an elder team together, and it's just been really, really cool to work with them. I love those guys so much.
I think that what ends up happening a lot of times, sometimes, and I just say this, you should always, if you're in a church, you need to expect your elders to be the ones that are servant leaders. They're the ones that they're not looking for all the attention, but they're there to take the brunt of leading the flock, if you will,
right? Yeah,
leading the church and doing what's necessary to care for people and to make sure that what's being done is going to lead people into that relationship with Jesus. And here's the thing, I'm blessed because they give me the right accountability. As the lead pastor, it'd be easy in some situations to just lead autocratically, just make decisions,
yep, sure.
Tell everybody.
This is what's happened and deal with it.
Yeah, and you have no choice but to approve what I say, but these guys are not like that at all.
No.
But we have such a good relationship that it allows us to make big decisions like this. And so I'm really looking forward to the end of this month. We're going on an elder retreat.
Yeah.
And doing some really long-term planning and praying. And so that's going to be really exciting for me, and
Absolutely.
I'm looking forward to that.
That kind of stuff is awesome.
Yeah.
So this is just a really exciting time in the life of Faircreek, and I probably say that at the end of every one of these podcasts, but I genuinely believe that we've seen way too many really cool things happen. I mean, I'm not going to disregard the fact that last year was a very difficult year, but we have just seen way too many really cool things happen, and opportunities and possibilities laid right in front of us. Mm-hmm. To say, man, God is, not only is he still at work, he even works through all the craziness that we experienced over the last year, but not that he ever slows down, but it just in a human way, in my mind, I'm like, he is working overtime right now.
Oh yeah.
And it's been really cool to see. And I'm excited to be able to just be a part of the things that are going forward. And again, to continue to try to make things better and better and better, not just get satisfied with, okay, we're doing good. Let's just keep kind of riding the wave. Sure. We've got some really cool things ahead of us, stuff that we would be fools to miss out on or to let pass us by. And it's just really exciting.
Yeah, it sure is. And so, yeah, I would even just encourage people who've been watching, listening to us, stay tuned.
Yes.
Yeah,
absolutely.
God's channel that we seem to be on right now, there's just so much coming. And so we've got some things that we've planned and put in place, but what I know is that we're going to plan some things, put them in place, but then God's going to take it and do
absolutely
incredible things with it. So that's why we want to do it. I believe that. That's the reason we want to do this the best we can.
100%.
So he deserves that. He's done so much for us.
He definitely does. Well, thank you very much for your time this morning and for just talking to us about kind of this new stuff that's going on. I mean, these new hires are really, really exciting. It's going to be so awesome to have these two new guys on the team just because we needed them. We needed their help so bad, but also because they add so much to our team that is far more than we could have ever expected by just, going out and finding and hiring somebody. These guys are just perfect fits, and they're just they add some really valuable and tremendous assets to our team that we need so bad. So that's going to be really, really exciting. I'm really pumped for our focus on prayer this month, and then re-engage the relaunch next month. I mean, again, just going to be really, really cool. I'm hyped for it.
Yeah, me too.
Yeah.
I'm super hyped for it, and
exactly.
Actually, it's hard to slow down long enough because there's just so much going on and so exciting. And so, yeah, I'm looking forward to it. It's going to be great.
Right. Well, cool. Well, thank you guys for watching so much. We really appreciate you. You can, again, you can catch us on Sunday mornings, 9:30 and 11 o'clock. We stream live through YouTube and through Facebook. You can check out our Facebook page as well. If you want to hear about any of the events and activities that are coming up that we talked about a little bit here today, you can find those on our events through our website, faircreek.org, or through the Church Center app. If you are familiar with us, you know about the church app. You can download that and find all of those types of things. Thank you for engaging with us. Thank you for watching and listening. We'll see you guys next time.
Thanks.